But my legs heavy, I don't get it. How come I haven't hit it already? Still working, I'm still learning, I'm still searching, finally earning something, finally turning something called a profit. If I hear you talking shit, don't get caught in it. I'll be popping off and hit your ass, dropping all your shit. Yeah, I promise this, I got promises. You ain't stopping this, cross my shit, you'll be knocked unconscious, bitch. That's the consequence, I got this, I will not quit. Man, I'm on it, honest. I'm gonna launch quick, then I'm gone. It's just a matter of time before I'm over the climb and moving under my prime. Just quit my 9 to 5, I'm rocking, and they watching, cause it's shocking. Dropping all these top 10 songs, so stopping. It's time to live my life, it's time to live, not die. Wish I could slow down time and just enjoy the climb.
What is up, people? What is up? Been a minute. All right, so a lot of things to get talk about. One of the things is come to the conclusion that hey, it's time to start debating. So flat earthers, let me know. I'm not talking, these regular discussions. There's some flat earthers that I actually want to have a conversation with and debate. Unfortunately, people like Spurs, Spurs, he runs a lot. Those guys. Discussions are for the friends. Debates are for the guys that I have issues with based on their false information. So that said, if you got any prominent flat earthers who like to spread their theories, let me know. Let them know. We'll figure something out. Get a good moderator. Keep it warm. It's kind of what the whole new setup's about. I got some other things coming up, but I don't want to talk about them until I get the okay from whose idea it actually was. It wasn't mine, but I think it's a great damn idea. We're gonna see how that works out pretty soon. Just to make sure audio is good, let me know in the chat, guys, so I can be aware of that. But yeah, I got big plans now. I'm starting to realize that the channel is getting larger, and with that, I feel I need to step up my game. So I'm gonna be doing different live streams, set for things. I know I keep saying that, but the reality of it is I do have a lot to say about my geoengineering and all that crap that's going on, but I think it's a great idea to show my gratitude to Glovers that helped me out when I needed help and explain things when I needed explained, and time to show that I actually have been listening and that I'm not just listening, that I actually understand what I'm talking about. So with that said, get ready for that. Some big news. What's up, Jay? Boy, Trash Can Man Jay. Sure if you notice, man, got the shirt on, so you can't call me that no more. What's up, Skyfly Bry? What's up, Leon? Jeffrey, what's up, man? Cynics, what's up, my friend? Thought I saw you streaming a little while ago. You're not streaming completely yet, though, are you? Yeah. What's up, Fight the Flat Earth? What's up, my friend? Good interview with Jose. Heard good things. I liked it. Liked it a lot. Definitely a trend that I think is going to start happening. I hope. Not as in people flopping just to flop, but to actually understand what not only we've learned in school, but the things that we've come to understand, because it's a different thing. Everyone knows quote unquote things we learn in school and the what you call indoctrinated things, but the reality of it is it's not just things being said. It's literally understanding what you're told. You know, so science can tell us anything they want. You're right. The difference is that everything can't be a lie because not everything is on them to show. We can show our observations. We can show exactly things that we figured out and understand. And with that said, uh, you can no longer say science always lies. It doesn't work that way. One of the main things that I actually enjoy about doing this live stream is that I actually get to express myself. I get to get all my thoughts out, and and it's a situation where it's not having to pick and choose who I interact with. I know who I'm interacting with here. I know once I put this link in the chat, I know I'm going to get a handful of mixed different types of ideas, whether it be on flat or the globe, and for the most part, a lot of them, they mix with what I think. So it gives me an opportunity to test what I think, test what I believe, and then explain what I know, explain what I understand. What I'll do is I'll go ahead and I'm just going to put the link out right away. Let me know if the setup gets annoying, seeing how it's the double hangout. Basically, what I'm doing right now is this is the setup for what my plan is. You guys hopefully he'll show up in the chat, and then I hopefully get a chance to talk about it. Like I said, I don't want to talk about this idea as if it was my idea. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and just to make sure. But within 1 second, because I'm going to put in this little chat I have back here. Anybody in that hangout, you guys know where it's at, there. Like I said, anybody's welcome to come on. No worries. One of the things I wanted to also talk about is what I hope be a change in the way people think. I kind of heard Fight the Flat Earth, kind of, because you were in here, you kind of reminded me of it. He had said something about, he was going to go about it differently. And I've been saying, and a lot of people have been saying for a while now, especially when I first became a flat earther, this whole shit talking thing, not getting anybody anywhere. I know sometimes it gets funny, and the back and forth of it isn't what I'm talking about, because there are obviously flat earthers and globers that don't get along every time they talk, and they'll go at it. That's not what I mean. I'm talking about this is the blatant flat earthers are stupid idea. They're not stupid. If that were the case, then you would be considering myself stupid, and I am someone who really thought it was flat based on the fact that my observations and my misunderstanding for the globe, but at the same time, it wasn't a lie. And I'm definitely not stupid, because I wouldn't have been able to learn as much as I know now in just the 2 years that I actually been trying to figure this shit out. So to make the statement that they're stupid, it doesn't make sense. It's downright disrespectful. It's just ridiculous. It doesn't get anybody anywhere. No one listens to any. Once you start yelling, no one listens to that shit. What's up, Ted? What's up, Ryo? Florence. Sorry I was late, my friend. I know you were here on time, and I apologize. What's up, Sean? Cat? Let's see. What's up, Martin? Let's see here. See if anybody's saying anything. Gravity doesn't appear because you don't like it. Okay, he was talking to him. Sean G, if you're into evidence and observation, I just posted some nice photos I took this morning of the curve of the horizon. Where? Flat earthers are stupid. Most of them are very, very stupid. Okay, well, Martin, I was a flat earther. I don't consider myself stupid. I don't consider many of the flat earthers I talk to stupid. But what I have noticed is usually someone who's just right out the gate, just ready to just talk shit usually isn't as bright as you know, they're boasting. So I'm just saying, you know, if you're going to at least back it up, more than welcome, come on the panel. Let's see, go through this chat some more. Actually, I have physics studies to become a teacher. Watch the moon's Jupiter orbit for a few hours. Yeah, thanks, Florence. So here's what the thing is. With the title, it says, you know, let's talk evidence. Here's the biggest thing: flat Earth doesn't give evidence. It was one of the biggest struggles I had. It was one of the things that really made me not want to deal with, you know, dealing with having to debate. If you guys go back and look at any of my debates, most of them, I'd say 95% of them, were based on situations in flat Earth that fit that narrative of the globe doesn't work because. And the reality is that's really reaching, and it made me realize right away that not only do you have to change your views because something that you've already said contradicts it, it's not that hard. I know you're saying that everybody has these, you know, everyone's indoctrinated, science takes over everything. I'd say the majority of the fields, especially astronomy, the majority of the work is done by amateurs. When the first person decided he wanted to figure this shit out, he probably wasn't working for astronomers because there weren't probably ones in the very first time someone thought of it. It's what really boggles my mind now, especially now because I don't understand where this blew up at. Because if someone says, "Hey, I got a beachfront property that's worth a lot of money, going to be near the beach, and I'll sell it to you for a quarter of what the asking price is." You never been there before. You never seen it. You're gonna just give that person your money? No. Why? Because you like to see it. You want to know that house is sound house, good structure, good, you know, good footings, the whole nine. You're not gonna just buy a house without seeing it. You're not gonna just buy a house by, you know, random people telling you about it. What is up, Dre? How you doing, sir?
What's poppin'?
And I figured, hey, if I go on a little earlier, maybe someone could show up. And then you did.
Yeah, because because this is like perfect for me.
Yeah, so it's Evidence Day. And I got yeah, I'm
Just the new jump off.
This idea that I want to go or run with.
Mm-hmm.
It's so spectacular, but I don't want to talk about it until the guy who actually I heard it from jumps on the panel. You know, because I'm not trying to take claim on it. Definitely not. But yeah, it's I think it's a great idea.
It's a good idea.
Yeah, of course.
I think it's a good idea.
I thought about it.
You just gotta kind of get people to agree on what's, you know.
Well, that's the best part. You know what? I can't. First of all, I'm gonna say it. F it. So Red Cloud, the guy you've had conversations with.
Red Cloud.
Yeah, the guy he's been in there quite a few, like pretty much almost every stream except for the last one, I think.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
Your trigger buddy that comes here.
You talking about the guy with the accent or whatever?
That accent?
Yeah.
Yeah, him. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
That guy.
So he was in the Discord and he had said, you know, he came in and I think he may have been joking around about it, but it hit me and it was like perfect. He said, "Why don't it'd be like they should have like a flat Earth court."
Mm-hmm.
So instead of it being like debating. You know what I mean? So it's arguing back and forth. The moderator's there to try to keep peace. What order? What better way to keep order and peace in this conversation than in a courtroom? In a courtroom, there's never other attorneys. They never jump up and jump in someone's throat, while someone's talking. There's no way in hell that would happen. When it's time for questioning and say, someone's questioning, a flat earther, that flat earther has to either answer or not answer, and vice versa.
I'm here. I'm cooking dinner.
What's up, Michael? How you doing?
Y'all go ahead. I'm just listening.
Yeah, no
How y'all do?
Good.
Well, when you dropping your next shoe, bro? No, he probably think what? It's jokes. Just continue.
Yeah, but I'm talking like the whole nine. Fucking a judge, like 3 judges, lawyers, the defendant and the plaintiff. Whole thing, man. And then
That'll probably be
in the chats, the jury.
Well, I mean, look at it this way. Realistically, do you think that you can get an unbiased judge, one that doesn't give a fuck about flat Earth or ball Earth, or unbiased anything as far as judges are concerned? Is it realistic to even think that those types of people even exist anymore?
I believe I am. I think I'm enough to do that. Finding others, I know a few, maybe,
well,
but
I'm not so sure that you can make that.
Because I think I would be the best for the middle. I think if you had 3 judges, 1 flat earther, myself, and a diehard glober, like someone we know is globe, never been flat earth. I think that would be 3 judges that would work perfectly.
Okay, now hypothetically speaking, just for instance, now it's like show and prove type deal. So it's like you got to present evidence. I'm assuming, right?
Yep.
So if somebody asks for proof of, I don't know, we'll say gravity, for instance. Hypothetically, what would somebody present that they can say this proves, gravity?
I could do that.
Or what gravity, or what they tell us gravity is, and how it works.
I would turn around. I'd go to the bench. I'd grab my briefcase. I'd put it in front of me like this, and I'd drop it.
See, but that's just a result of you releasing it. That's that's not proving gravity.
Okay, then, but why did it fall?
Because you released it from your grip.
Okay, but why didn't it go up?
Because it's heavier and more dense than the air that's surrounding it.
Okay, so if that were the case, then shouldn't the atmosphere basically be flipped almost? I mean, if it was that, so here's the thing. The way you're saying it's density in the air atmosphere would then have density, correct?
Say what?
Like, so the higher you go, the less dense it is. The lower you go, the more dense it is, correct? For what you're saying.
I guess you could say that. I'd say that the atmosphere is probably more dense at like ground level than it is at higher altitudes, because it's composed of different things.
Well, you would say it's more dense.
Yeah, I'd say it's more dense.
So basically, it would be almost of the realm of dropping something into a pool. You know how it drops, gets as low, to its buoyancy equal, and then shoots back up.
Yeah, I've seen that happen. I know what you're talking about.
I would think that would happen to, say, a basketball.
Absolutely, because the basketball has air, and then the buoyant force is going to force it to go back to the top.
No. I'm talking on regular ground, in the air, on land. Because if that were the case, a ball pumped up to 7 psi then should go up. That alone should go up.
So you're saying if you bounce a ball that's at any PSI, a 7, for instance, like you said, that it should literally go up to like space?
It should go up till it equals out, if that were the case.
I mean, no, it can only go as far as the energy that's put into it.
Well,
And once that energy is expended, it's going to start to fall back toward the ground and find its resting point until it bounces. And you notice every time that ball bounces, it bounces less higher, and then it goes.
But here's the thing. But under what you're saying with with it being density, being the factors of it, if a 7-pound ball you let go of a 7-pound ball, you're letting go of a 7-pound ball in a known 14.7 psi atmosphere. So that would mean that when you let go of that ball should go up.
No, it should not go up.
Why? It's more buoyant and it's less dense than the atmosphere.
No, because the atmosphere has down pressure. The atmosphere doesn't have up pressure.
So you're saying it's a force.
What's a force?
The down pressure. Hey, what's up? What's up, Craig?
Well, I mean, it's absolutely a force. I'm not claiming that it's one of the forces like we know as the strong and weak nuclear forces. Or
could I try and explain that
scale? But it's definitely a force of some sort. It does, it does affect things around it. I'm sure.
Yeah, go ahead, Craig.
Sorry, I just need to mute the feed 1 sec. Sorry. Right. Okay, so the thing about it falling because the air is less dense really doesn't make sense for the pure fact that we have a pressure gradient that reduces in density as you go up. So if things were to fall because of purely density, then it would mean that as you drop something, it would go up, but if it did go down, then it wouldn't accelerate, it would decelerate as it went into the more dense medium. So we have to ask. We have to ask if it's going down.
That kind of doesn't even fit in this situation. You're talking about dropping a basketball. Like, does the layers of the air change from the height that you drop a basketball at? What?
Absolutely, yes.
6 foot above your head.
Yeah, because there is a pressure gradient that goes from 14.7 psi up to 0 psi.
And you're saying that a person at 6 foot and they drop a basketball at the height of their head, we'll just say it's 6 foot. You're telling me that there's a pressure gradient from 6 feet down to the ground at 0 that's going to affect the speed of this ball?
If it was purely density, yes, because there is a pressure gradient. However little isn't the point.
At a 6 foot drop, the ball couldn't even reach its terminal velocity. It doesn't even make sense. What are you talking?
Let me try and explain again.
Hang on, Craig, because again, there's something.
Sorry, my bad.
It's a very simple. No worries. Like a very simple thing that's happening right now that we're going past. If it was density and not gravity, the second you let go of a ball with 7 psi, it would go up. It wouldn't even go down. It's already less.
Why would it go up?
Because for one, it's less dense. So it means, and how that would work, if it's density, that means the less density goes up. The heavier density goes down, right?
Okay, so then why does a boat loaded with steel containers and God knows how much weight float on top of water? Then it should go down according
because of buoyancy.
Okay,
yeah.
so then you can't apply that.
And it does sink a little bit.
Yeah, like if everything was due to just density and buoyancy, then none of that ship would be underneath the water at all.
Listen, I didn't personally say that it was all due to density and buoyancy. I just said that
you're right.
He asked me why it would fall or whatever the case may be, and that's the reason that I gave him, and I stand by that reason.
But the reason doesn't make sense is the point.
Well, but neither do all the explanations for gravity. I can tell you different scenarios where gravity it contradicts everything that it's supposed to do.
With all due respect, I really don't think you could actually.
Well, see, hold on. First of all, I want to stop this guy because this was a hypothetical. Because this was a hypothetical question that I posed to Sean so we could establish something, and this guy jumps in and he's trying to debate or whatever, but this is perfect, but he needs to just chill for
explain.
Well, this is not what this is about.
Hang on,
Yes, it is.
Hang on, stop.
Here comes this tramp.
Stop, or I'll start muting. Okay. Yeah. So
I
in the
told
very
you
begin-
this is
know,
why it'll never work.
In the
This
very
is why it'll
beginning,
never work.
no, because in my reality of how that would work, it would work.
There are too
there
many
is a thing.
trolls that
There are
too many trolls that won't allow it to work.
I did pin him to density without explaining more, but only because just at that step alone, it doesn't work. But at the same time, it's kind of going both. I just need everyone to kind of do one at a time because it does get kind of clustery. I know.
Let's finish our hypothetical first because we were just trying to basically trying to establish a basic line of progression forward, and then this guy comes in and starts debating the hypothetical question we posed.
It's cool. It's all good. It's all good.
With all due respect, I wasn't debating. I was trying to help explain the points that Sean was bringing up.
It's all right.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, but so here's the thing. Okay, so this is what we're doing right now. What the point of what I was doing was to just get out the way density and how it does not work. Because if it's not density, then we got to talk about something else that would.
But we can say the same thing about gravity. Gravity just doesn't work.
But it does work. It does.
No,
works.
it doesn't.
Why doesn't density work?
Okay, then explain to me if gravity works and the moon is trapped within the Earth's gravity well, why is it moving away?
Because the Earth's gravity isn't the only thing affecting the moon.
Everything affects
it. But nonetheless, if the moon is trapped within Earth's gravity well, how is it moving away?
Well, if you're gonna say trapped, if you're gonna say trapped as in can't leave,
it absolutely is because if it's captured within Earth's so-called gravity pull or whatever the case may be, and gravity has a greater imprint on the space-time fabric, as you call it, or whatever the case may be, it absolutely has to be caught that gravity well if it's orbiting Earth.
At the same
How
time,
is it escaping?
Okay, you have to count the sun. You have to count all the other planets that are orbiting. All these things.
Okay, so then here you go. There's another one. If that's the case, how come Mercury can orbit the sun when the sun is millions times its mass and it just orbits it so close and it just doesn't draw?
Can I explain orbits for a second?
It doesn't work.
Right. So the thing about orbits is that what's happening is that Mercury is constantly falling towards the sun. Okay, so not only is it falling, but it's moving away from the sun at a fast enough speed so that whenever it falls towards it, it misses it, and it keeps doing that. And in space, there is nothing to stop the velocity.
So the sun is pulling it, but yet it's moving fast enough so it moves away.
So no, not it moves away, so that it misses the sun when it falls into it, which is what an orbit is. And because there is nothing in space to stop the velocity, to slow it down, it will just continue on that orbit. Of course, like you said with the moon, it's moving away slightly because we have to account all the other gravitational factors. I don't think the orbit of Mercury is getting tighter.
How could it not?
Well, it has. It has.
Listen, in case you don't know what the gravity
You're not even listening.
It's shaped like a cone. How could it not?
Okay, now I can tell you now that Mercury actually has gotten closer.
Exactly.
We've already. It's just the composition of it. We know that it at one point in time did have fucking life, not life, but water molecules or whatever the fuck it's called.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
shout out to Dr. Bob who trades the pain pills for sexual favors.
Right, hey.
I'm gonna have to jump out because I'm going on to Team Skeptics channel. Thanks for having me on, Sean.
Yeah, no worries.
Speak to me later. Bye.
Yeah.
Wait, fighters, wait. Oh, damn it.
What's up, Chris?
Hey,
I actually really do appreciate you coming in.
Damn, I thought he was gonna stay on. So like 5-6 weeks ago, not to change the subject, but just real fast, I posted a $100 globe challenge, to which Fight the Flat Earth responded and said he would complete the challenge in a week's time. Well, 4 weeks later, it's yet to be completed by anybody, including him.
So I kind of saw this challenge, and I'm not gonna lie to you, man. I saw it and kind of went, okay, whatever that is. You're
like that idiot that puts a ball into a pond.
From what I can tell, you're asking.
What's the challenge?
Here I'm gonna put it on the screen right now. It's kind of one of those challenges where it's like, if you ask a question differently, it can't be done, and that's kind of what he did.
What?
Chris, you mind if I play it?
Sure.
Okay. Want to make sure, so we're all good.
You know what I'm thinking of this?
You know what's funny though? If I can interject, every time a fluffer thinks of a ball, they think of latex balls, like that water just spins right off. They don't think of sponge balls.
Even if you spun a sponge ball, the water would still water would still.
And even on a latex one, the water sticks. Yeah, for sure.
I mean, it doesn't. That Mm-hmm. Well, it goes to what we would call the equator, first of all. But yeah, I know what you mean.
The best test is to put grown adults on the merry-go-round and have
exactly
them loose the soccer ball. The gravity automatically pulls it to the right and out.
Yeah, or better yet, put them on a gravitron, put them on a gravitron, and then take a couple of those panels out, and then make everybody get up.
I have an article where Dr. Bob got a court for trading pain pills for sexual favorites. Why am I kicked for
Oh my goodness!
But it's an article.
Yeah, I like this. Bit of a dig.
What's up, everybody? What's up? What's up?
Human evolution of Ewok.
What else?
What's up?
Like this?
No, I can't hear it.
There's no sound.
Hold on, I'll be right back.
Well, it's just the 360-degree sun at the North Pole, or not at the North Pole, but near North Pole, say 70-degree latitude, you know, somewhere like Greenland or Iceland or wherever this guy filmed this at. Well, I guess we could get it. I guess we could get the latitude, longitude. I mean, I don't know how you're going to scale latitude and longitude to a room size model, but I mean, I guess you could. I would give a range, like I would allow a range of say 60 degree to, I don't know, 85 degrees or something, right? I mean, in other words, no. There in that video, there's no quote unquote sunset, right? It's 24-hour sun in the Arctic area. That's it. Well, what do you mean? On a ball? I just don't think it would look like that. Well, what does that have to do with this video?
I want to touch on that terminal line too when you guys are done.
Okay, well, I don't know who just said they want to talk about terminator line, but that's fine with me because when I look at a sun, say call it a sunset if you want, that's fine. There's clear difference in color and light rays and color, which tells me that there's no terminator line. It's a sun that's moving far away, and as it's moving, it's taking its own light source with it, and thus you have dark, say dark on the left and right sides, and as you go into the sun or whatever, the light follows it. So in that sense, there's no terminator line, because you can see light near the sun, and then as you go, if you pan left or right, in some of these images and videos of a sunset, it's dark.
And I totally agree with Chris. And anybody,
It just doesn't make any sense at all.
and anybody, I asked if I could touch on this. I just want to add this, and anybody can go out and do this, and I'm gonna do a video sooner or later. I just haven't really had the time to do it, but I'm gonna do a video with some kind of pictures and whatever to kind of explain what I'm talking about. But just imagine now, like for instance, where I'm at in Jersey, with the time change, the sun comes up at around, I don't know, like 7 o'clock, somewhere in that neighborhood. Now, every morning when I'm driving, I see the sun starting to come up, and there's an arch of light that goes from left to right. It doesn't arc 180 degrees over my head. It doesn't even span from left to right 180 degrees of my field of vision. So how is it possible to have a terminator line that's constantly illuminating half the world when I can see the light source itself as it rises, and it's dark to my left, it's dark to my right, and it's dark behind me? But yet, no, that is not the terminator line. Listen,
That's the terminator line.
Hold on, before you start speaking, let me finish, because anyway, like I'm saying, I'm in a state called New Jersey. If I can see the end of the light source as it spreads out from left to right, and you're telling me that's the terminator line, so apparently the terminator. No, what I'm saying to you, it's you can't even classify it as day, because the sky is not even lit up yet. But yet the light source, you can see it. You can't see the sun. It's just about above the horizon. You can't quite see it, but yet you can see the light. It's lighting up the sky where it's rising. It's lighting up the sky. Okay, now the arch that light produces, it's literally not even 180 degrees across my field of vision. It's completely dark to my left. It's completely dark to my right, and it's pitch black. 180, if you're basically standing on a circle, 180 degrees would basically be from ear to ear. So your ear is one side, your other ear is the other side, and behind you. That's all pitch black behind you, and the sides, left and right, dark. 180 degrees, but yet I can see an arch of light. The moment, listen. Well, I wouldn't be, if I was facing south, I wouldn't even be seeing the sunrise. I mean, really. It'd be like a hard left. I mean,
Hey, Sean. I just posted an image. I think it's what Dre is referring to. It's definitely what I'm referring to, if you want to share that.
Right, but just before, I just want to make this point. For somebody to claim that what I'm seeing are the beginnings or even a portion of the terminator line is absolutely ridiculous, because now you're talking about the terminator line can be seen and from one end to the other in New Jersey or any state for that matter. How can the terminator line be, and it's not something... I don't. What image am I looking at? This is kind of similar to what I'm talking about, but this can't really capture it quite, because you don't see a full 180 degrees. Like there's basically, now imagine that picture right there. Now, just as you go further to the left, it gradually fades to the point where if you look all the way to your left where your ear position would be, it would be black or dark on both sides and then behind you.
Well, I don't even know at this point how to respond because, you know, these questions are like they're not even wrong. They're so wrong. I mean, it's I don't even know how to respond to them. That's probably
Okay, so then
why.
be quiet.
That's probably why the Flat Earth didn't respond to Chris, is because it doesn't make any sense at all. It's not even a question.
Okay, I just want to respond to that when you're done, sorry. Well, so all I would say is that Fight the Flat Earth looked at it, said he knew what I was talking about, said he could do it, and said he would do it within a week's time. That was 4 or 5 weeks ago.
I think he had.
Well,
I think he had a channel strike. He had a channel strike, and he also had computer issues in the meantime, right?
This was after that, yeah.
Well,
no,
I don't know how complicated this question that I posed was, but my question was, how can you possibly claim that the Terminator line that I don't particularly, I definitely don't agree with it the way it's portrayed on the globe or whatever. But how can you say that this Terminator line illuminates half the world at one time when?
How not?
Okay, now please do that, because now imagine that you're on the surface of that ball, a comparable size to what a human would be standing on the Earth, and you're telling me the moment that you see that light source that it shouldn't be lighting up completely above your head if you can see it? Come on.
I agree, Dre. I agree. It's not hard to.
Come on, if you can't see that, like, come on.
He doesn't even listen. He won't even listen.
Brenda, shut the hell up. Listen, I understand it's not a defined line. I understand it's not a clear, crisp, clean, sharp line. It's something that gradually fades. But at the same time, if it's illuminating half the planet at one time, there's no way or no reason in the world that I should be able to see darkness on both sides of me and behind me while that light source is coming above the horizon. And I can see the arch of light that it's making. The moment you're on a ball, the moment you begin seeing the light source itself, the light that it's making, the moment you start seeing that, you should have light above your whole head.
Right, and think about it being 93 billion miles away. Like,
yeah, this is
think
what I'm
about
saying.
that.
And the rays so-called come parallel. No, because that's
don't even listen. You just talk.
Brenda, shut up. Well, no, because it's important that I make the point that those rays are coming in parallel. Absolutely, it is. No, see, this is. I told you, like right now, the sun, we'll use before the time switch, for instance, because the sun was coming up at around 6 o'clock or something like that, or whatever, give or take. So like I'm saying, now, mind you, when I start driving, it's pitch black everywhere. All right. Now, by the time 6 o'clock, or whenever, considering the time change, 6 or 7 o'clock, whatever the case may be, the sun, the only reason why I can't see the top of the sun, or whatever you want to call it, like literally peeking above the skyline or whatever, is because the trees, obviously you're not going to see it until it clears the trees. But yet you can see the beam, the arch of light that it's casting, and it doesn't even cover 180 degrees of my field of vision. Like, how hard is that to understand?
Pretty tough.
It doesn't matter. Okay, you're facing the east. You're facing the east because that's where the sun's rising. So that's where I'm seeing it. So I'm going to say I'm facing the east.
Right.
Well, one of the first things I said was I'm looking at it coming up above the horizon. And the west.
Because the Earth is casting a shadow behind you.
Everything, even in the east, is still kind of dark because the light that's being dispersed is still minimal. It hasn't really blossomed yet. You know, at some point, it just takes over and it's like overwhelmingly bright. Okay, now use that diagram. Now use that diagram and show me how I can visually see an arch of light.
Yep.
So explain the image I posted.
Okay.
The problem is if you imagine it, well, I guess like I do, as a local, smaller, closer light source, it makes way more sense that the light is following the sun, and as it goes farther in the distance, you lose on the sides the light, and it converges in the middle. No, okay. It's sunset. There's no editing. I've taken pictures like this myself in my neighborhood. Exact same effect with my phone. You're not sharing, by the way. But even on the right side, there's a gradient. There's a light gradient from the middle to the right. There's still a gradient.
Not only that, but if the sun is 93 million miles away, behind those clouds should be just as bright as everything else. Those clouds shouldn't be blocking out any of that light.
Because the sun is shining past the earth.
It's like the sun is behind them. The bottom of those clouds are lit up?
Yeah. Yep.
Well, I'm looking on the phone, so it's pretty small to me, but I don't see where those clouds are lit up.
How are those shadows going up?
No.
What?
Yeah, that's not true. Yeah.
The top cloud obviously has light under it because it's higher in altitude.
Than the sun?
I mean, it could be close. It could be closer to the viewer or further away. That's probably up for debate.
No.
But obviously, it's higher in altitude, or it's possible that the darker clouds that you see are much further in the distance, you know, for some reason, and they're lower, and that could be producing the extra dark effect as opposed to that brighter one.
And you're talking about angles. Hold on, you're talking about the angle that the light is hitting water vapor, man. I mean, I don't think that's going to prove anything.
Don't prove shit.
Yeah, it does.
They won't.
What?
Why wouldn't they? The light source is coming from downrange.
Right.
The sun can't light the bottom of the cloud, period. It's 93 million miles away outside of our atmosphere.
Because
so how is it possibly lighting the bottom of the cloud anyway? Come on. Right. So you basically, this is showing a sunset or a sunrise.
I interrupt. Sorry. The sun under clouds is moot anyway because Rob Skiba showed like 2 or 3 years ago that you can have light underneath something due to the atmosphere. So, all right.
Can I say
just? I mean, like I said, they're not thinking about angles and that it's water vapor, man. It's water vapor.
Can I say something?
Yeah, I know you don't want me to talk. You don't want me to talk.
But this is stuff that they gave you, though. This is stuff that they put out there to explain the system, whether it works or not.
There, I posted. I just posted a link to YouTube showing that. So,
well, that's cool because whatever you're about to show us, I want to see how
iPhone to record, and I'm showing my.
I just came in to fulfill. I don't know who it was that posted the challenge. The challenge to show spinning lights. Obviously, to show that the lights overhead are spinning and the Earth is not. So the link in the chat is a link proving that. Right. It proves that the stars rotate and the Earth is not still.
How about you got a link to something that's proven the Earth is moving?
Yeah, the link that I posted it. Well,
I just want to know if that's what you're saying, so I can go check it out.
Yeah, it's in the chat link. Okay.
We've been moved the topic. All of this spawned from a hypothetical question that we were talking about.
Why he leave? I had a question for Sean, man. Why he leave? No, the other Sean.
Phone to record.
No, you don't need to play the audio. There it is, light under the quote-unquote cloud.
That's besides the point, Sean. That's besides the.
Come on, even that's ridiculous, dude. Even if he made that light, even if he used, it's just the point that the light is back there. It doesn't matter if he moves it straight up and down or if he simulates moving it on a curve. That light is still going to shine the same way. I mean, like.
The light source is higher than the camera. I don't know. You can. Anybody could. Well, hold on a second. The point is people on the ball side say you can't have sunlight under the clouds, and this guy is showing you that you can have light underneath the source as you pull the light back. Yes. Yes. Well, the sun does move away from you. I mean, what?
Of course, it moves away.
Yeah, but it's so big. It's the circle is so big that as you see it.
See, now size doesn't matter, but everything's relative in the globe world.
Right.
It's like, come on, like, come on, man, really. It does make sense.
What's the question?
Yeah, what's the question? I don't.
Sean.
Because every time somebody from flat Earth says something or whatever, blah blah blah, and it applies. But no, it's the truth. Every time somebody from flat, I'm not saying you particularly. I'm just saying in general. That's what everybody does it on both sides, Sean. It's not like one side. Everybody does it, whether you do it personally or not. Everybody doesn't just talk to Sean. People talk to, but the vast majority of other people, when you say anything about size or direction, this, that, and the other, blah, 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 the first thing a Glober says, no, it's all relative and it all depends. And here he's telling you, which makes perfect sense. If something is making a circular pattern above your head and it's much more massive than you and it's traveling, of course, it's going to appear to be moving away. Whether it's actually moving to run a circular course or not is kind of irrelevant. It still appears to be moving away. They're duplicating or trying to simulate an experiment just to show you that the light can be produced by X, Y, and Z. Is it perfect? No, that's not the point.
Yeah. Yeah, most likely.
So because he moved it straight back and he didn't arc it a little bit, you're saying that it's invalid?
Right, exactly. Not.
Okay. Sean, it's not a bad thing to concede.
Sean, listen.
You can concede, man. It's okay.
See, this is what's happening. This is what's happening. You're taking what is basically a valid experiment as far as the components, how it's operated and how he performs it. Listen, no, you know what? Show me an experiment. Show me any experiment that goes along with globe or whatever that actually reproduces to scale everything that they claim. Show me one.
Sean, nobody can hear you in the hangout, Sean.
Serious? Jesus Christ.
Yes.
Damn it.
Nobody's been able to hear you for the last 10 minutes.
All right. Well, I didn't say much. It was pretty much them.
All right.
Thank you.
He ain't doing nothing but dancing
Okay.
anyway.
Yeah,
Well,
you
no,
wish.
it's
Okay, well, then I'm going to say what I got to say again.
Super picky about this
No,
experiment.
I am not. And here's the thing. Maybe how everybody was talking. Hang on. Stop. Because no one heard me for the past 10 minutes. So I'd like to be able to get my point out so that everyone understands what I'm saying instead of just hearing, seek, and find, and you make it seem like I have no idea. So here's the thing.
Dude, this is like nuts.
It is nuts. It's the reality of the fact that you're explaining that the experiment or the challenge that Chris put out there does not depict anything that Rob Skiba's video just showed. The fact that
I didn't see either one. I don't know nothing about either one.
Okay,
Sorry.
well, I'm going to tell you right now. Well, you did, because you just said that you were just arguing that the light, it was the same thing, but the problem is...
I just watched it on the screen.
Okay, well, that's what I'm saying.
I'm just going by what I saw.
Then me too. And I can tell you right now, there is never in a time ever would have used that experiment to depict the sun and what we observe. That's what I'm trying to explain. So in that sense, you would use that video we saw, you would use that to depict flat Earth and how the sun goes?
He was just merely trying to show you.
No, again, we're not. I don't want merely. That was supposed to be evidence. He said that was evidence.
This is what I heard. Somebody said that light couldn't shine on the bottom of the cloud, and the guy showed that it's possible.
No, here's the thing. Okay, how is it?
That's a bad point anyway.
How is it? Okay, how is it possible if that is not anything we observe? So how is that what he did make it possible? We do not observe that at all. Either side, my globe or flat Earth.
We don't observe ourselves spinning as the sun rises as a globe Earth.
And again,
we don't feel
and
ourselves spinning.
I'm not going to show you a car
spinning forward.
Okay,
in
hey,
order
look,
to
I'm not
witness that
going.
sunrise.
Listen, I'm not going to show you a car driving away from me to prove that either. And that's exactly what Rob Skiba's video did. It tried to prove what you guys try to use that as evidence, but that is not anything we observe. So how is that evidence for anything you are saying? Pretty simple. It's not like this one is not even a debate. You do not observe that. So how are you trying?
That's like me asking you, how do you consider you dropping something evidence to prove gravity?
Because every time I drop it, it does the same thing, and it does not do what you consider to do with density.
Okay, so what does it do then?
It literally, the force. Everything's attracted to the same way it works.
Everything's attracted to the same, but nothing.
Okay, hang on. Seek and find. What's the effect of gravity in my version of how it works?
Oh, you want me to answer for the heliocentric model?
Yep. No. For me, because I've answered you 1,000 times. So what is my answer?
It balls it up and makes it curves the water. And
no, I never. Nope, never said that either.
Yeah, if it's holding the water.
Is that what I said? Seek and find? Is that my answer? My answer.
Okay, I'm giving you your answer.
No,
listen.
Here's the question. Here's my answer.
It holds it down.
No,
that's what you.
Yes, I did. You said show me. You said show me the effects of gravity on water. And I said, do you see the oceans floating up? You said nope. And I said that's your effect of gravity.
It holds it down.
Yes, it does.
Okay. Wait. Hold on. Well, then tell me what's the effect of gravity on a tree?
do you mean? You understand?
What do you mean? What do I mean?
The tree doesn't float. The tree doesn't float away. The leaves don't fly off into the air and fucking stay in the sky, do they?
How come?
Don't leaves, branches, don't trees fall?
How come those branches all grow upright? How come they don't grow close to the ground or toward the ground? How can they put out flimsy little
trunks.
How can they put out
trunks.
No, you're saying the trunk. Why? Because the trunk is so thick it's strong?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so what about all the new growth on the end that barely weighs like a milligram?
They usually if they have any weight to it, they do start hanging. Otherwise,
if gravity had effects on trees,
yeah, it does. That's why a tree grows the way it does. You know how it has the foliage, how the older stuff starts going lower because it's not as strong and it can't hold itself up.
So tell me what the force of gravity on a tree is.
The same as the force of gravity on you.
I don't think so, because if I stand up too long and I don't move around and whatever,
you're not a tree. You're not in the ground. You're not solid into the ground. Like,
okay, again, so then how can you compare the gravity
why don't you
effect
grow,
on a tree
why don't
the
you
same
grow,
as the
why don't you grow into the ground?
Why do branches grow upright and outward instead of toward the ground if gravity is strong enough to hold all this water to the globe?
They're starting at the ground, and then once they've sprouted,
that's not true.
Once they've sprouted, they're headed for the sun.
So you're telling me that all of these trees that are above 5 foot, above 10 foot, and they continue to grow, all that new growth that continually grows upward is not being affected by gravity?
Yeah, gravity doesn't squash things.
But it pulls everything to the center of the mass.
It does.
So why is it not pulling all of this new growth, twigs, foliage, and things of this nature, things that can't possibly defeat the force of gravity?
Here you go. If you're a youngest daughter and you are playing tug of war, you can make it so she can't pull you anywhere, correct?
I mean, hypothetically, yeah, I'll say yes.
Okay, well, that's kind of how it works. It's kind of like a tug of war, and the difference is that gravity.
A tug of war between
gravity.
You're
not letting me finish.
What? So no, but
can't finish.
You got the force. You have the force of gravity trying to pull everything to the center of the mass.
Top of that,
the tree generating that's counteracting it?
The top of that tree, its growth. Its growth literally is the only competing factor with gravity. And guess what? In the end, gravity wins.
So you're saying the simple process of growth on a tree is what stops gravity from pulling it to the center of mass of the earth.
Okay, so if that were the case, okay, I've explained
Well, no, I want to know because now trees have to pump literally. I mean, absorb whatever they have a system. They have a respiratory system. They move things throughout their system. How do they do this? How do they
pump it?
What does a tree now?
It literally sucks it up like a sponge, all the way up to the top, if it has enough water.
Okay, so basically the siphon action of that tree is enough to defeat the force of gravity.
I'm not going to call it a siphon because I think it's more of an absorb, but because I don't think there's any suction force.
Well, Google like tree respiratory or something. They're going to show you the pattern of which things travel as far as how it takes it in. It draws it up the roots.
Yeah, but it's not a respiratory. It's not a system though, because if it was a system, it would cycle. There's no cycle of it.
You can prove this because if you damage whether it's a tree or a house plant or anything of that nature at the trunk, as it's drawing its moisture and its nutrients from the bottom, if you damage the trunk and it's severe enough, everything above will eventually die.
No, well, it depends on its. It depends on its location. So let's say if it's a house, if the house is very dry, yes, it will. If the house is humid or you live in Florida, no, it won't, because leaves and branches, they also absorb through the air, through the atmosphere.
Once again, if a tree or any plant, for that matter, sustains major damage to the trunk or main stem system,
So like cutting a tree down. So like cutting a tree down. Like there's always a certain point, because I can tell you right now, there are plenty of instances where chunks are taken out of trees.
Do you know what a bud node is, or do you know when plants?
Yes, I do. It's like a broken leg almost, but it doesn't grow anymore. Yeah.
So you know what pruning is? When you prune something, now the plant takes that as an injury. Now, what does it do? It sends out another shoot at that injury.
Okay.
Okay, so once again, if you damage any foliage type plant, tree, whatever the case may be, that has one main trunk or base or whatever you want to call it, if that's damaged to the point where it's serious enough, nothing above will continue to grow. It won't even put out a sprout shoot, depending on the species of it is.
Yeah. Okay, you're right. Depending on the species. But I can tell you right now, better yet, I've taken chunks out of trees. I've taken chunks out of trees with a machine on accident, and it not fall.
And they still survive.
Because the sap will grow over. So saying so your scenario that you just put up isn't true. Maybe on some occasions, but not all.
But that tree in particular doesn't take or see that as major damage.
And again, I don't even know what that has to do with the gravity part.
Well, the reason why that came up is because there's something that's circulating within that tree. It's not just absorption. They have processes. It's called respiration. They still have a circulatory system to some degree, even though it's not comparable to a human's circulatory system. They still have a circulatory system nonetheless. How does it defeat gravity is what I'm asking you. This is where all this spawned from.
It doesn't have to when it's absorbing. When it's absorbing, it's what it does.
All right, guys. Is not the only means of it transporting the nutrients throughout the structure of itself. It has to have a system. That's why it has things.
Why is it that you're even thinking that this is something that is a question of how it defeats gravity? What is your question as to how a tree defeats gravity?
Well, it's a force. Forces have effects on
everything. Yes, it is.
So I asked the effect of
what is the effect that you think it has on a tree?
What's the effect that this fictitious force has? That's what we're asking.
I'm not claiming that it has any effect on trees, because I don't subscribe to traditional gravity the way that it's
gravity doesn't care whether you believe in it or not. It's still there.
Exactly. But just because you believe in it, because it was spoon fed to you the way that you take it, and you believe it to be 100% accurate, and it is what it is, then that just kudos for you. I didn't ask for your opinion. What's your point?
No, I'm asking what your point is. What do you possibly think a tree has to do with gravity? Do you know what geotropism is?
Do I know what?
Geotropism.
No, why don't you tell me what geotropism is?
No,
because
I'm not
honestly,
going
I've
to.
never heard of it.
Wait.
Why don't you know what geotropism is?
Because I'm ignorant and I don't know what it is.
Dre.
See, that's Bob Tector. He come in here.
Stop.
I could be.
Stop, please. Bob, can you explain? Because I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is.
Fucking mute me, dude. If you give me a fucking invitation to come here, I'm going to speak my fucking mind.
All right, but at the same time, I'm trying to figure. Okay, well, I'm trying to figure out what the fuck it is.
You know how I get down. If he wants to be a dickhead,
you asked what it is. Okay,
like
but you asked what it is. I'm interested in knowing.
If he wants to be a condescending motherfucker and a prick,
Dre, come on, man. I'm trying to figure this out. I'm trying to.
Some fucking dick, you fucking.
No, you're just a.
Both of you guys. Dre, if you don't understand it, fine, but.
Yeah, and then I asked this fucking asshole to explain it.
Stop! Fuck! I'm trying to get something out.
Fucking condescending.
All right, guys.
Fucker.
Hey, we're done. Not doing this shit, guys. I don't give a fuck what your personal issues with anybody is. If I ask you to stop on my panel, stop on my fucking panel. Secondly, I'm trying to figure something out, and I want to understand something. Then I damn well am gonna stop everything to find out what the fuck is going on. Don't like it? Don't come on my panels. I don't ask anybody to come here to make things difficult. Dre, yes, Bob did come in with an attitude, and I was trying to fucking tell him to calm down too. The point of what I'm doing is making it so I don't have to deal with people going back and forth. You're either going to let me calm him down, or you're going to tell me, fuck you, Sean, and you're going to do your own fucking thing. And do it on the Dre Show. I'm going to calm the fuck down, smoke a blunt. I'll be back on in about an hour.